And welcome to NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying from Richmond, presented by DraftKings. Gorgeous afternoon, as Brad Keselowski said. Intensity is ramping up, and that's exactly what we're expecting to see in this qualifying session. Matt Kenseth, calm, cool, and collected, because he already has a spot in the chase. Denny Hamlin, he also has a spot in the chase, but he's also been walking around with a crutch the past couple days. That's because of an off-track incident, a little basketball pickup game where he tore his ACL. Hello, everyone. Alongside Steve Letarte and Jeff Burton, I'm Rick Allen. The big story, obviously, coming into this race has to be the guys that are 12th to 16th, right on the bubble, and those outside. The intensity is ramped up for them big time because they have to do well to be in the chase. Yeah, no question. They have to do well. They need to qualify well so they can start with the group of cars. They don't want to be in the middle of a mess. So it all starts tonight. Having a good qualifying effort tonight can go a long way to having a good, clean race tomorrow night.
And it's not just the guys from 12th to 16th, Rick. We can look back outside of the chase right now as Eric Almirola, Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, and Kyle Larson. While there might be a mathematical chance that Almirola or Casey Kane could get their way in on points, I think both of these teams, really all four teams, need to look tonight or look tomorrow night as a must-win, and that starts now. We've been practicing for a couple hours, but this is qualifying. This counts. What happens tonight is going to convert to tomorrow night and where they're going to start. And NASCAR has always said win and you're in is what they want everyone to think about. So if someone can win tomorrow night that's not currently in, they could bump somebody out. But one who is already in is Denny Hamlin. But as we just saw, on crutches because of a torn ACL. How does that distract a driver?
Well, I think it's a distraction for him thinking about driving the car. I think it's a distraction for him figuring out how to make the car comfortable and all those kind of things. But Denny Hamlin's been hurt many times. He's dealt with this exact same knee injury with the other knee. So I think his previous experience, although he didn't enjoy that experience, will help him get through this weekend. And then I think throughout the chase will probably continue to get better because he'll just get accustomed to it and learn how to deal with it.
Yeah, the only thing outside of normal Denny Hamlin behavior that I've seen so far in Richmond is outside the race car when he has a crutch moving around the garage. When he gets in the race car, he's looked great on the racetrack. It doesn't seem that it's affected him at all. And like Jeff has mentioned, he's gone through this before with his left leg. Now it's his right leg. I think that's a little less concerning because you don't have to push on the gas pedal anywhere near as hard as you push on the brake.
And it's a topic of conversation between the other drivers as well. At least he's got a smile on his face. That's because he is in the chase. He's already been to victory lane in 2015. Who will win the pole qualifying? We'll talk to drivers next. Get ready for the chase with a free trial of RaceView Mobile, NASCAR's ultimate live race companion. Download it now. Follow your favorite driver at Richmond. Just search RaceView Mobile in iTunes or Google Play or visit NASCAR.com/mobile for more information. What a gorgeous view of this 3/4 mile short track. Let's go into the garage area and Mike Massaro.
Certainly one of the biggest stories of the week, Rick, has been Denny Hamlin once again being forced to race with pain after tearing an ACL in his right knee. You've been in the car for a few hours here during practice today. How is it?
It's good inside the car for sure. Hopefully in the next 24 hours I can ditch the crutch, so it doesn't look so obvious, but you know, the FedEx Express Camry was okay during practice. I know it looks bad with our speeds, but we didn't do any qualifying runs or anything like that. So in the long run, I feel pretty happy with our car. Short run, we could use a little bit more speed, but you know, it's just a tough circumstance that we'll get by it, and I don't think it'll hamper anything performance-wise for our FedEx team.
What has Dave and the team had to do to the race car to make you comfortable inside?
Well, mainly just getting the pedals further away is the biggest thing. So I can't bend it at the knee. I don't have the range of motion that I had before. So getting my legs a little bit straighter helps out quite a bit. And really, I'm so focused inside the race car of making the next corner faster than I made the previous that the adrenaline takes over and you really don't feel much.
It's also his home track, Marty, so he's got extra motivation.
Well, Mike, we heard Tony Stewart talk about the home run in the bottom of the ninth. Kyle Larson would love to be able to get one of those, put himself into the chase. How was the car in the first two practices today, Kyle?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought second practice our race trim got a lot more consistent, so I was happy with that. We still aren't, where probably Keselowski or Harvick are, but we're better than we normally are here at Richmond. So that was good to see on the lap tracker. Qualifying trim, we were a little off. But we normally are whenever we go into qualifying trim here in practice, and we seem to qualify a little bit better. So I don't know if we can get the pole. I doubt we can get the pole, but I think we can definitely make the final round.
Certainly have to say the team is taking a big swing at it, trying to get you into the chase this weekend. Chris Hero told me you came with a completely different package than you've ever had here before. What are you looking for that you've been missing here at Richmond?
Yeah, we got to come here and do the Goodyear tire test, just a couple months ago, and I thought, it went really well. I thought we learned a lot. I thought I learned a lot as a driver around this place, and I think it's kind of showed so far today. I'm looking forward to getting the race in tomorrow night, seeing how we run throughout a long run, because that's where I thought I was good at the test, was the long runs, where that's where I always struggle here, which is odd, because most tracks I'm really good on long runs. So, I feel, optimistic about it. I think, we have a good shot at a good finish. It'd be nice to get a win to get locked in the chase, last minute like that. But we'll go out there and try and do the best we can, and hopefully just have a shot at the end of it.
And they showed that long run speed in practice earlier today. One of the best at 10-lap averages, Mike.
And another guy trying to lock himself into the chase with a late regular season win is Casey Kane. And Casey, a victory will propel you to the chase. You did it last year in regular season race number 25. Can you do it here in the final regular season weekend?
Well, I hope so. We're working hard for that this weekend with our HendrickRidealong.com Chevrolet. Felt pretty good in practice. The longer run, I thought we were better the longer the run went, which was good for Saturday night here. The tires fall off so much, and I want to get a good lap right here, because this is a big part of our weekend is your starting position, pit stall. All that seems to help a lot these days. So we'll had a good car at the end of practice. Hope we can back that up and run a couple good laps.
We're going to let Casey Kane buckle himself in and get ready to go. Rick?
Thank you, Mike. 45 drivers here. That means 2 will have to go home. We'll find that out next when we start round 1 of qualifying from Richmond. NASCAR live from Richmond. Tomorrow, last chance to get into the playoffs. Sprint Cup Series Racing, presented by Smithfield Foods. Coverage beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern with NASCAR America. Tonight at 7 p.m., it's Xfinity Series Racing, presented by Carfax. NASCAR is on NBCSN. About ready to drop the green flag on the first round of group qualifying. 20 minutes for the first session. It will set the positions 25 through 43.
Yeah, it's also going to limit us to 43 starters. There are 45 cars taking time today, so 2 cars won't be in the race Saturday night. But then if you're lucky enough to be in the top 24 or good enough to be in the top 24, you would advance to round 2, where we're going to take 24 down to 12, then off to round 3, where we're going to set the pole winner.
45 cars all trying to find some space on a 3/4 mile racetrack. How do you do that, Jeff?
I don't know. I wish I did. I would have had a lot more success here. The bottom line is, I think the biggest thing going into this qualifying is the pace is going to pick up so much from what they had in practice. And I think the teams that guess that pace are going to stand the best chance of qualifying well. We could see 3/4 of a second, half second, 3/4 of a second quicker than what we saw in practice, and that completely changes what you have to do from a driver standpoint, what you have to do from a car standpoint as far as setup. So I think the team that guessed the best on the amount of pace pickup stands a really good chance of doing well.
Well, I'm interested to see this. I'm actually quite shocked to see the 88 of Darren Hart Jr. roll off as quick as he did, because while I do expect you want to see this stuff, give your tires as much time possible to cool, I would rather sit on pit road and see what you need to run. The track's only getting cooler. It's only getting better. I think more importantly is you can sit on pit road and see what lap time is going to be necessary to move forward.
I agree. I think that would allow you to go. After you went late, you can wait a little while, go late in the second round also. Try to let the track continue to cool down.
But he is the first one out on track.
You see how shaded 3 and 4 are. That's the sun going down. Track's much cooler right now than it was at any point in practice.
21:40 for the first lap for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Faster than any lap that we saw in practice earlier today.
Yeah, but Danica Patrick ran a 28.08. So that means Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 3/10, which 3/10 at Charlotte might be pretty close, but 3/10 off at Richmond is going to be a long ways away. He'll be looking for more speed out of lap 2.
And we would expect to see more. You're going to see people take more than 2 laps because they think they might be able to get a little something more on that 3rd lap if they don't feel like they've gone fast enough, which might be the case with Dale Earnhardt Jr. The green lines next to their names means that they are on track. We'll see that populate throughout this round as well as the remaining 2 rounds. Dale Earnhardt Jr. tried a third lap. It didn't work out. Danica Patrick also a third lap.
And that's the problem, Rick. When I'm actually surprised Danica ran a third lap. And this is some of what I was talking about, going out early. They have no idea if they're good or they're bad. They feel like they have to run 3 laps. But that's an extra lap on the tires. I think the strategy is to sit on pit road to about the 10-minute mark. At that point, you're going to go on the racetrack. You probably still have time, Jeff, to make a second run if you get blocked in. But that way you know what lap time you need to run to be in the top 24. There's less guessing game. You know how much the track's picked up. I like that plan better than being the first car on the racetrack.
All right, I'm going to make you guys throw a guess out there. Does 21:30 Dale Earnhardt Jr., does that stay in the top 24?
No.
We both said it at the same time with great conviction.
No. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to be somewhere 27th to 30th with that lap time. At this point, the crew chief has to think. Greg Ives has to be thinking he's going to have to run again.
The big question is, can they run faster the second time out? These tires we saw fall off quite a bit in practice. So it almost feels like you need to lay the lap time down right now. If not, may not be able to pick up the second time you go out. We haven't seen anybody try it, so we don't know. But we do know this tire was designed to fall off on speed more than the tire was here last year or even yet in the spring.
The 2 fastest laps that have been run today, identical. 21.084 by Brad Keselowski and by Danica Patrick.
And we would worry about a tiebreaker if we were in the 3rd segment. But we're in the 1st segment, so all they're really looking for is to move through to round 2. And listen, I'm going to give a credit to Danica Patrick. You don't know how good a 21.08 is, but now as Kevin Harvick has run, Brad Keselowski has run, guys that were really fast in practice, she's right up there in P2. I think she, on the other hand, the opposite of Dale Earnhardt Jr., she can get out of the car. She can relax. She can feel good that that's going to move her into round 2.
And also Justin Allgaier, he's in 4th. He's beating Carl Edwards, Casey Kane, Tony Stewart, Eric Almirola, Paul Menard, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Denny Hamlin. He's beating some really, really good teams. So good effort for those guys as well.
Michael McDowell back behind the wheel in that 95.
And he's one of the teams, while he's not the worst 2 teams in Cup owner points, worried about missing the show. He's 4th on the list. So it's very important for him to get a good lap, because if the 30, the 62, the 26, some other teams that are below him in points, if they end up in the top 36, Michael McDowell would then have to get in on speed.
Casey Mears in the 13 on track. There's the list of owner points you had just referenced.
Yeah, so Josh Wise and Timmy Hill, you see them, this is from lowest to getting better. So Josh Wise and Timmy Hill must make it in the top 36. And as if they do, then you just move down the list. If the 30 or the 62 move in, then the 26 has to, and so on and so forth. So everyone on this list, though, has an opportunity, a realistic opportunity of not being here tomorrow night. They're paying close attention to where these other cars are.
Casey Mears slots the 13 into 5th. 18 cars have been on the track. 45 are here to take time in this first round. Jamie McMurray on the clock. McMurray was 14th quickest. Marty.
Well, Rick, so far we've seen cars pick up basically 0.4 of a second to half a second. But the problem is, see Greg Biffle going down the backstretch, and Jeff, you can certainly talk about this. Coming off of 2, going into 3, there is a big glare for the drivers. Now, it's obviously the same for everybody, but it's certainly something the drivers are having to deal with, and that doesn't make it easy on that entry into 3, does it, Jeff?
No, it doesn't. But, the teams should be prepared for that. It's always the case here. The team should put a little extra tape on the windshield to block that sun for the drivers. It always happens here, so you need to be prepared for it. Even when the race starts on Saturday night, that sun will be just setting. There'll be a little bit of a problem for a few laps, but in qualifying, it's always been an issue.
Martin Truex Jr., driver that's locked into the chase with his win. Pocono earlier this year. One of the important things about Richmond, qualifying in the top 10. There's been 119 races here at Richmond, and 92 of those have been won from a starting position inside the top 10. Matt Kenseth goes fastest and the first to break the 21-second mark.
And I think that stat about the top 10 being important here is a little bit on pit road, but I really go back to what Dale Jarrett said about Xfinity qualifying. Darrell Wallace Jr. had trouble, had to qualify in the back in the 30s. And I thought DJ had a great point. He said when they drop the green, he's going to have to run harder than he wants to run. And I think that's what it comes down to. When you qualify in the top 10 at Richmond, what that allows you to do is enter the race with the mindset of a little bit of a relaxed pace. Not that you're out of a cruise, Jeff, but you're saving car, saving brakes, saving tire. Where if you have trouble right now in qualifying and you qualify in the back, when they drop the green, you have to run harder than you want and abuse your car more than the guys that qualify in the front.
And A.J. Allmendinger, he did a really good job. He and his team, they're in 6th right now. Kenseth went fast, and Kurt Busch, just a little while ago, he went up to 2nd. So we're starting to see these guys that waited a little bit. The track may be starting to swing a little bit in their favor.
Mike Massaro.
And as these guys go out now, one guy keeps getting bounced down a notch after another notch and after another notch. That's Dale Earnhardt Jr. because he was fighting a little bit of the balance of his race car during that first 3 laps of his qualifying run. Really loose off, so he dropped the track bar. Still, though, tight center. They've made some adjustments, and they're preparing to go out again. Made an air pressure adjustment. Shied away from any wedge adjustment because that just made the car much tighter. So they're preparing, obviously, to go out and make another run.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that's what they're going to have to do, Mike, because, you know, Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now is sitting 17th out of only 25 cars that have taken time. As you see, Michael Annett jumps ahead of him, moving Dale Earnhardt Jr. down to 18th. And that's really what I always looked at. It's not just where you're at, but where you're at out of how many. And you kind of play the odds game. You know, if you're 10th out of 20, I figure you're going to finish about 20th by the time all 40 cars go. And, I mean, it's just simple numbers at that point.
And I really believe that waiting a little while was probably a good thing because we see teams like Michael Annett, an underfunded team, you know, go out recently and lay a good lap time down. All the lap times that are at the top 3 have gone recently. So, and by the way, all of the top 3 went and did it in 1 lap. So the next time they go out, they have less laps on their tires, which could be a big advantage.
Yeah, what else happens as time goes on? The sun gets a little lower. It doesn't seem like much, but when I look at 3 and 4, the center of the whole corner is in shade. So when you go down to the corner right here, you see Jeff Gordon enter the shade and come back out of the shade. When we talk about how tight the center of the corner is, I don't know very many things in the world that give racetrack grip, but the one thing that gets it grip is cooler temperatures. So it can't be a bad thing that that shade is now covering 3 and 4.
Kyle Busch went to 3rd. Jeff Gordon went to 9th.
Brian Scott moves up to 17th. You know, this is a track that he's had so much success in the Xfinity side. Yet to get that win in the Xfinity Series, but led 200, I think it was 45 or 47 laps of that Xfinity race. He just seems so comfortable around this racetrack.
Here's Clint Boyer, the team that I think is the most nervous based on where they are in points. They can't afford a bad night. Look at going down the back straightaway. Look at the sun, how the glare. As soon as he gets in the middle, it'll go away, but you have to deal with it on corner entry. And corner entry is so important because that's how you set the entire corner up. So Clint Boyer on his first lap is 21st. On his second lap, moved up to 19th. That's not what they're looking for. They'd like to qualify in the front, not to have to be in the middle of that mess when this race starts. They can't afford to be in a wreck or have a problem.
And you compare that to Joey Logano in 9th. Well, he did that on 1 lap, Jeff, as you were mentioning. 1 less lap on the tires. And I was wrong. Poor Brian Scott only led 239 laps out of 250. I tried to give him credit for 6 more, but this is definitely a place that it's no surprise to see him here in the Cup races.
Yeah, I think the big surprise is Denny Hamlin sitting on that bubble right now in 24th. Probably going to get bumped out. Most likely will get bumped out. We'll see. But that really surprises me. As good as he is, as good as Joe Gibbs Racing has been lately, I thought Denny Hamlin would come here and just excel because he is so good at this racetrack.
Another guy who's pretty good here is the 24, Marty.
Jeff Gordon certainly very good. Matt Kenseth very good today as well, Rick. And Jason Ratcliffe and Matt Kenseth had a deal. When he passed by the start-finish line, if the lap was good enough, he was going to tell him to shut it off. When he finally told him to shut it off, Matt said, "Thank goodness you told me to shut it off because that lap was almost perfect." Very happy with the 20 car. And you guys have mentioned his teammate Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, several of the teams doing it in just 1 lap. How key will that be, Steve, for rounds 2 and 3?
Well, Marty, I think that is key. I think, you know, as we list the benefits of going out later, it becomes clearer to me that these guys want to wait and want to see what opportunities there are. As you see David Gilliland jump up to the 24th position and hold on to that cut line. 1 lap, you know, tires in race trim were falling off around a second over 25 laps. That means that's significant fall off. So these tires are definitely not getting better. Does 1 lap versus 2 laps make that big a difference? Well, it's yet to be seen, but if you have 1 less lap, that's an advantage. And in qualifying or really any type of race, you're looking for any sort of advantages you can get.
drivers like Kyle Larson, Jimmy Johnson have yet to go out on track to take a lap. You would expect those two, who were fast in practice earlier today, to jump ahead of that 24 or that 24th position, which right now Dale Earnhardt Jr. is in. But there's also still at least 10 cars that haven't taken a time that could jump up in front of that top 24.
Yeah, and now when I say I want to wait, we mentioned the 10-minute mark, Jeff, because my only concern for these guys that are coming out right now is Newman jumps up to P2. That's a great lap for the 31 and Ryan Newman. But with under 8 minutes to go, Jeff, if you go out now and you have a problem, say you driver, say you just missed the line, say you turn a little to really catch the apron, say somebody pulls out in front of you, you're getting to that mark now, Jeff, where you don't have time to make another run. I think it's getting to the point where if you feel you have the speed enough, you need to be in line and looking to make your run.
Kyle Larson in the green. He is 18th quickest on his first lap. Mike.
You know, you talk about the guys that we expect to be in the top 10. Well, maybe one that we didn't expect to put up a big number right away, Justin Allgaier, but yet you went out there and turned a tremendous lap. Were you expecting that?
Well, you know, I knew that these guys built me a really fast brand professional agriculture Chevy. Our final practice, you know, we only made one qualifying run and felt like we could improve on it a little bit, but obviously the lap time there was a good one for the first round. Now we just got to keep up with the racetrack and feel like we have a great race car for race trim, so we just got to make another good couple of laps here and hopefully put ourselves in a great starting position for tomorrow night's race.
Justin Allgaier, all smiles and for good reason, right?
Absolutely. As we watch the tracker for Jimmy Johnson, he goes 20th quickest on his first lap.
And that's not a error in the data. 200ths better than 24th. There's 4 positions. That's good all the way to 20th. And when you talk about short track racing, that's how close it is.
Yeah, 19th all the way through 25th right now, separated by less than a 10th. And Jimmy Johnson all the way up to 3rd. That's a big lap. Sam Hornish Jr., DraftKings number 9, on the clock, but in the red. And listening to him, Jeff, it didn't sound like he was able to get back into the throttle as hard as he would have wanted to coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, he went to initially he went to the throttle, and then he had to play with it leaving the corner the same way off of turn 2, just not enabling him to carry the speed all the way down the straightaway. It's a big penalty to pay here if you cannot do that. We see Ricky Stenhouse Jr. jumps up to 9th, gets himself top 24.
Yeah, and on the left side of the screen, you see we've slid the graphic down because really at this point we're looking at everyone outside of the cut line, and some guys are choosing to run again. There's a little green dot next to their number as there is Dale Earnhardt Jr. That means he's on the track. Here he is going out trying to improve his 28th position.
And now we're going to find out, can these tires run quicker the second time out? The track is cooler than it was when he went earlier. He has that working for him. He has laps on his tires working against him. We're getting ready to find out if they think they can pick up.
First lap out was 0.2 of a second slower than the first time, and he said that's it. It's not going to get any better. So the idea of going out first and laying a lap down did not work out for the 88 team and Dale Earnhardt Jr. We see Denny Hamlin back out on track. He's 30th quickest on his initial run, his second lap. We'll see if he can improve now on this second attempt here in round 1.
And we heard right before qualifying began when we talked to Denny Hamlin that he wasn't as concerned with the speed because they didn't make a qualifying run in practice. And you have to wonder if they're questioning that now because we know he knows how to get around Richmond and he felt good about his car and race trim. But obviously, Jeff, it's not converting over to qualifying trim. He's unable to improve his time, still in 30th.
Timmy Hill, the only one that has not been on track yet. Denny Hamlin running in the green. Can he break into that top 24?
He's definitely having a much better lap here than the first lap, but off turn 4 just sounds like he couldn't quite get the power down. He does improve. Oh, does improve, just not quite enough.
He did improve his speed, which gives optimism to the guys that are going to have to go again to try to get themselves in, and also for the next round trying to get themselves in. They did see someone pick up, so that makes everybody have to think about what they're going to be able to do with their car.
And as we look farther down the list, Josh Wise sitting 37th. We mentioned this before, how Josh Wise in the 30 car needs to make the field as he has to be in the top 36 in time. And as he sits here 37th, He is basically a few hundreds, 300ths of a second behind Bowman in 36. So Josh Wise will try to run again and improve on his time.
Jimmy McMurray shuts it down. He was 35th or 31st quickest. And Timmy Hill in the 62, not looking good.
Yeah, he's also one of those guys that has to get in the top 36 if he wants to get himself in the race, and obviously he's had trouble. He drives into turn 1, locks the left front brake up. That's not uncommon for Richmond. At this point, you know, it's a good thing he let go of the left front brake. If he hadn't let go of it, it would have kept on going. It would have gone right into the wall. We see at Richmond the car transitions and puts a lot of weight on the right side, and the left front tire gets light. We see a lot of people lock the left front up, getting into 3 and also into 1, the way we saw the 62 of Hill do.
Mike Massaro.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. has just gotten out of his race car. What were you looking for out there? What did you need in your car?
I guess a couple tenths. Just real slow, out of the track, not comfortable. We qualified 26 here earlier this year, so I don't know, man. We've been struggling all year in qualifying, and it just doesn't look like it's getting much better.
It sounded like you said the car wasn't driving as well. What exactly were you looking for in terms of what you wanted to feel?
It's not driving good. It's 29th. You know, that was the second run on tires, and the tires is used up, so it's not going to handle good on that run. So just real frustrated.
We'll let Dale Jr. go. Obviously, he's going to have some work to do on Saturday night as he makes his way from mid-pack at least.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr., 29th quickest.
Here's another guy, Clint Boyer, 26th. Now, Denny Hamlin's pickup that moved him to 25th, as Jeff was saying, that gives a guy like Clint Boyer hope that he can improve on his 26th place time. Marty?
And Steve, that's just what he asked about. How many guys have picked up when they've gone out for a second time? Billy Scott looked at everybody and said Denny Hamlin is the only one who's picked up. So that's the drama for this team. Somehow sitting in 26, they have to find a little bit more speed and get themselves into the top 24. And as you mentioned a moment ago, Steve, it's not a lot of speed they have to find either. Qualifying at Richmond, always so tight, but that's what Boyer faces with these final 3 minutes of qualifying.
Hey, Marty, I think one thing they have going for them, and I know it's not much, but the problem Timmy Hill had, now it red flags. And so now the sun sets a little more. Now, we're not talking about a big difference, but any little difference they can get with the sun setting and more cloud over in 3 and 4, it continues to cool down. So we'll see. We'll see if it matters. But any little thing they can get, they'll try to take advantage of.
Saw Michael Waltrip there, team owner for the 15 and 55. He's on pins and needles, hoping that the 15 of Clint Boyer gets into the chase. Right now, 16th in points.
As Clint goes through 3 and 4, his first thought is, hey, hit your marks, do everything right, coming to get the green. It's important to carry speed to the start-finish line. It makes a big difference in your lap time.
Right on the edge. 5/1000ths of a second. Now showing in the green.
Yeah, but that concerns me, because when I see a car go into the green on corner entry, as Clint Boyer does, that makes me worried when you're a 10th better getting into the corner, because that makes it that much harder to get off the corner. So we'll see right here, he's tracking the wrong way. 26 quick, a couple tenths off his first lap. He's going to have to see if he can put it together on his second lap.
He's going to keep digging. And in the green,
definitely better.
Fiffle.
See if he can get the throttle back down. Doesn't look like he was able to get it as quickly as he needed to.
Looks like he lost it through the center of 3 and 4. Not able to get back into the gas as quickly.
And now, as unfortunate as these tires are for qualifying, takes away a little bit of the drama about being able to bump up and move the cut line. What it does is put a lot of value on the first laps of the racetrack, but it also puts a lot of value on your pit decisions tomorrow night. When do you come to pit road? How many laps are on your tires? Is it 8 laps, 10 laps, 15 laps? How many are too many laps where you have to come get tires?
2 weeks in a row of this. Darlington last week, the tires are wearing out. Now we got it again. I love it when tires wear out. It gets people on different agendas. Cars are better on long runs. Some cars are better on short runs. I just love the races it produces.
About 80 seconds to go in this first round of qualifying.
And I like Denny Hamlin's tenacity. He knows he has extra laps on his tires. Well, we just had a red flag, as Jeff said. He has to try. He just can sit on pit road and assume it's not going to be good enough, or go out here and try to put 2 laps together.
And it's not going the right direction for him. As you guys both have mentioned, tire fall off. So difficult. Even in this first round, with just a few laps on their tires. Denny Hamlin now has 7 laps on his tires. And already he has dropped 0.3 of a second from what he ran on his first run.
And you can hear it with the throttle pedal. He just can't commit to the gas like he needs to get up off the corner.
Just not enough speed in the tires. Jamie McMurray giving it another shot. 25 seconds to go.
And you see Paul Menard right there in 24th in his lap time at a 21.239. Keep that in mind, 0.239. Well, Denny Hamlin, he's 0.243. Boyer, 0.244. Annette, 0.244. 100th? And there's a whole nother group of cars up into the top 24.
You 6 1,000ths of a second. I mean,
not even 100.
5 1,000ths of a second separating those 4 cars. Landon Castle was in the green for a moment and then right into red as he slid through turn 2. Drivers trying to get as much as they can. The red flag being displayed. The end of round 1. Matt Kenseth ends up being fastest in round 1 and the only driver to go under 21 seconds for a lap. All the teams will make their way back onto pit road. As soon as they do, the clock will start for the time in between round 1 and round 2. Top 24 on the left of your screen. They are going to advance into round 2. Denny Hamlin, not one on the list. The driver right on the cut line. Clint Boyer, 16th in points. Needs something positive in this final race before the chase. Didn't get it in qualifying. He's outside the top 24. He will not advance into round number 2. They're the drivers that are outside that top 24. Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer. Look how close it was between the 3 of them. They were 5 1,000ths of a second for making it into the top 24. Timmy Hill and Josh Wives. So 2 drivers that will not advance into tomorrow's race. Marty.
Well, Trevor Bayne will start 28th, as we just saw. And how difficult was the challenge to go back out on used tires and try and make a run and get into the top 24?
Well, you kind of know your first run is where you got to get it done. But first of all, I want to say thanks to Advocare being on the car every single race this season. Their distributor has been great. But this qualifying run, you know, when you miss it by 100th to getting into the second round, as a driver, you think back to one little part of the corner. I mean, a millisecond of getting off the brake sooner to roll speed through the middle. There's something you could have done different. A lot of times you get out of the car for qualifying and you go, well, that's all I had. There's nothing else I could have done to pick up 2 or 3 tenths. But when it's hundredths of a second, you kind of beat yourself up over it. I think our Advocare Ford's pretty good in race trim. So I saw a lot of good cars are back in the pack, and we'll be able to follow them up through, hopefully, with a long run speed. But like we said, if you make 2 or 3 runs on tires, you just expect 2 or 3 tenths every time to fall off. You got to get it that first time.
Mike?
Well, as Trevor just said, Marty, there's lots of good cars, lots of good drivers toward the back of the field. Jamie McMurray is one. Obviously, that's not necessarily where you want to start, but what do you think you'll have for the race?
Yeah, I don't know. We ran really well here in the spring race, and they've brought a different tire back, and we were discussing it between practice and qualifying. It's so hard to make changes because you ran so well here in the spring race, but we just haven't had it all weekend. We were 20-something in both practices and now 30-something in qualifying. So I'm not real sure. We've got some work to do, and the 42 car was really good the first practice, and it seemed like they struggled a little bit more in the second practice. So maybe there's something we can learn from those guys. The track changes a lot at night, and I guess you cross your fingers and hope it goes your way.
And he'll roll off 31st. Rick?
Yep, another driver outside the top 24. We'll be back for round 2 after this. Welcome back to Richmond International Raceway. The green flag has just come out on round number 2. 24 drivers all looking to advance into the top 12. They only have 10 minutes in which to do that. Danica Patrick, one of the first out on track. We'll see if that works out for her this time.
Now, this round, I think you do have to go early because if you go late, then your tires don't have as much chance to cool down going into the last round. So I think going early in this round probably makes a lot of sense.
I agree. And what you're going to see on the left side of the screen, that is the top 24 cars in the order at which they advance. So as soon as cars start placing times up, we'll reorganize that. And when we do that, you'll see a number to the left of the car number. So when Danica Patrick here completes her lap, she'll obviously be the fastest at the time. So she'll be in position 1, and then it'll shuffle around as we go.
Danica Patrick up to the top. The lap she turns, 21.376. Carl Edwards a little quicker, 21.339. Casey Kane not quite as quick. He's 3rd. Tony Stewart 4th. 21.459 for Stewart. Danica Patrick ran a second lap. It was slower.
And that's a big fall off. Danica Patrick in the first session had ran a 21.08. So that's not quite, but close to 0.3 of a second slower. And we saw this now. Dale Earnhardt Jr. tried to improve. Clint Boyer tried to improve. Denny Hamlin did improve, but he said he didn't make a run in practice, so maybe he made a mistake in his first qualifying run. Most cars, though, have not been able to go faster the second time out on the racetrack.
Last weekend at Darlington, we saw this driver, Brad Keselowski. He was able to be very consistent on his 3 runs, similar to what we had here, where it falls off a great deal. He didn't really pick up. He ran almost the same exact speed all 3 runs. I think if you could do that again this weekend, that would be a plus.
And Jeff, he's one of those cars that we talked about in the first session that only ran 1-time lap. That was enough to move through. We're getting ready to see. Marty was asking if we thought that would be a big advantage, and right here, although he gets a little high off turn 4, he has fresher tires. We'll see if that could help him run a faster second lap. That was a good first lap until turn 4. Maybe there's room for improvement.
His first lap slotted him in the 5th position. Now he drops down to 6 because Ryan Newman moves up. Keselowski looking good through 3 and into 4. He loses a little of that speed, but he does it. He makes the move up to 4th.
Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, all guys that ran 1 lap on their car earlier in practice or earlier in qualifying.
Kurt Busch shuts it down. He is 2nd quickest.
We saw Keselowski go out and run. You saw his speed go way up. Watch him getting in the corner into turn 3. Look how loose he gets. He has to correct the car, chase it up the racetrack. He may have been able to run quicker his first lap. That was a big slide right there, and still ran a reasonable time on that first lap. So it may be in the cards for somebody. I think it could have been for him if he hadn't lost control.
And it looked like he might have scuffed the wall, or at least came very, very close when he came out of turn number 4. As you mentioned, loose in, ended up being loose off when he came out of 4. And we see now Joey Logano on the clock in the green.
He's in the green with a lot in the bank. This looks to be a very fast lap. Logano's one of the cars that ran just 1 lap in the first session. I would assume he's only going to run 1 lap here.
21:17 for Joey Logano.
That's good. 21:17.
You heard his screwdriver. That's good. That's good.
Stop.
Slow down.
Here's Kevin Harvick. And Budweiser number 4.
I don't think that first lap's going to be good enough. After another one.
Harvick 8th quickest on his first lap, 21.399. We'll see if he can improve. Second lap, definitely better. 21.293 for Kevin Harvick.
And as we start eliminating cars, though, I'm going to continue to harp on this tire story. Joey Logano, Carl Edwards, both 1 lap in session 1, 1 lap in session 2. They sit 1st and 3rd. But how about Justin Allgaier? Great run in session 1 to advance. Well up into the top 15. Here he is trying to improve again. He's currently 10th. He runs a 2nd lap. He'll still be 10th.
Kyle Larson needs to try to improve his time, or at least get into the top 12. You know, he's that driver that needs a win. He needs to be able to qualify well to give himself the best chance to win this race.
His first lap, 7th quickest.
And that's hard with 11 still to run. I agree with Chris Heroy's call right here to leave him on the racetrack. Try to run a 2nd lap. I don't think you can afford to call your driver in the 7th, 8th position. You have to see if you can run faster.
He tries and succeeds. 5th quickest for Kyle Larson. Improves on his 2nd lap in this 2nd round. Matt Kenseth all the way to the top of the chart, 21.141. Another driver with just one lap on his tires in the first round.
Where did the qualifying Matt Kenseth go from 8 or 10 years ago? Because I remember early in his career, self-admittedly, he called himself a bad qualifier.
Sure.
We went to Bristol one day, he sat on the pole, and it seems like ever since then he's figured this qualifying thing out because he's had a tremendous amount of speed.
Kyle Busch just crossed the start-finish line for his first lap, 9th quickest. And tracking in the green, both Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. Great lap by Kyle Busch. We'll see if he can finish it out.
One more if you want.
Ends up
29, that'll be fine.
3rd quickest, 21.285.
Yeah, what you see on the bottom right of your screen right here, we're going to compare to 12th because 12th is the cut line. So you see right there, David Reagan jumps up into the 5th position. We see Martin Truex Jr. right on the same pace as Danica Patrick.
Martin Truex Jr. just outside that top 12. The cut line is in. 17 have gone. 7 still to go.
There's another car and driver, just like we talked about with Clint Boyer, that needs a good solid run to not have to start in the middle of the pack. It's so much easier racing in Richmond if you're in those first 3 or 4 rows. I just cannot tell you how different the race is versus starting 6th and 18th. 18th is so much harder than starting 6th. So Paul Menard in this point situation needs a good qualifying run. He's not going to get it on his first lap.
21.70 for Paul Menard on his first lap. Jeff Gordon now on track.
Way up the hill, it looks like in 1 and 2. Almost out of the groove. It looks like he's going to almost have to throw this lap away to try to improve.
Paul Menard's second lap. A little bit better than the first, but still, of those that have taken time, he was the slowest.
Jimmy Johnson up to P3. That's a great lap for the 48. I'm sure Chad Knaus would tell Jimmy to shut it off.
You're in.
Right there, you're in. You're in with 2 minutes left. We're confident that lap's going to make it.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
This is a team, when we talk about the chase, they still have the opportunity. Win and you're in. The 17 car could be in it. But they're looking for a bright spot. They're looking for a change, something to encourage this team to keep working in a direction. They've been searching for speed all year long, and it just takes so much effort. Great lap here by Austin Dillon. Great lap. 4th for Austin. It takes so much effort to try to improve these cars. You'd like to see some sort of light at the end of the tunnel.
Stenhouse Jr. and his team and all the Roush teams, if they don't find a way to win this race on Saturday night, this will be the first time that Roush has never been in the chase format. So a lot of pride on the line for these Roush Fenway teams.
Casey Mears in the 13. Was in the green until he came off of turn 4. He's 15th quickest on his first lap. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 19th quickest. Eric Almirola now on the clock. He's the 24th of this group to go out to take time. So the final car, as Casey Mears was trying again, a little bit slower on that last lap. Almirola, 21.50.
So Ryan Newman was out there trying to make a run. He came off turn 2 and just said, you know what, we can't do it. He just stopped. There's no way he was going to be able to do it, so he just gave up.
Ryan Scott in the 33 also on track.
Casey Kane close. See him down at 20th.
Little bobble there through 3 and 4. Doesn't improve. Casey Kane still 20th with 10 seconds to go. These drivers just trying to get in, but their final laps count, and no one else will get a lap that will count after this. So that lap counted for the 51.
How about the 51 of Justin Allgaier, though, and the 33 of Brian Scott? Two guys that you just, to be quite frank, you don't expect to see up fighting for this final round of qualifying, but great improvements for both cars. We have one in 17th and one in 18th.
Ryan Scott 17th, Justin Allgaier 18th. Casey Mears also an impressive run, 15th for Casey.
Danica Patrick at 14th. As you said, Mears 15th. So although they didn't make the final round, that was good qualifying efforts for all those teams.
4 drivers in the top 12 that need a win to make the chase. Austin Dillon, David Reagan, Kyle Larson, and Tony Stewart. We'll see if they can maybe grab the pole. And we take a look at those that did not advance. 13 through 24, presented by DraftKings. Martin Truex Jr., the only one locked into the chase in that group.
Yeah, we see Casey Mears with a good run at 15th. Casey Kane at 20th needs a win to move forward to the playoffs. Marty?
And Jeff Gordon down there in 23rd as well, studying the speed chart. And how challenging was that session, Jeff, when 1 and 2 was in complete sun and 3 and 4 was in complete shade?
Yeah, this is a tough place anyway. Short track, doing multiple runs, the fall off in the tires. But we're better than that. I hate it for a 3M Chevrolet team that we're going to be starting there because I know we're better than that. I went for it on that first lap of that last run. I knew I'd given up a little bit on entry on the previous run, and we were a little bit free, but we tried to tighten it up, and I drove in there a little deeper, and it about came around on me, so I had to give that lap up. And the second lap, the grip's just not quite there. At least it wasn't for us. So, I put whatever lap I could together there, and it just wasn't enough. So that's frustrating, and we'll start working on the race.
Mike?
And Casey Mears didn't make it to the final round, but it was still a pretty good qualifying effort for this team. 15th on the board. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was good. We obviously would have liked to make that second round, and we were pretty close to that. But, Geico Chevrolet's been pretty fast. We unloaded quick. It's been kind of a pleasure this weekend. We doing a little bit of fine-tuning instead of kind of wholesaling it. So proud of the guys that came with a good car this weekend, and we're looking forward to the race tomorrow night.
Rick, talking with Casey off camera, he's real optimistic about what he might have for a race car on Saturday night.
It's got to be good. Going into this last race before the playoffs, we'll be back for round 1. 4 drivers in the top 12 racing for a pole, but also a chance to make it into the chase. Austin Dillon, David Reagan, Kyle Larson, as well as Tony Stewart, all advancing into the final round, all needing a win if they want to make it into the chase. 16 cars. This will be Stewart's best starts here in the 14 car.
Yeah, and we've heard all week about guys outside the top 16 looking to make a win, and we keep hearing Dillon, Larson as guys David Reagan could break through. But Tony Stewart hasn't been on the top of everybody's mind. Definitely not on the top of mine. Shame on me. I mean, Tony Stewart has won 3 Sprint Cup championships.
Yeah.
So for
48 wins.
48 wins. So it just hasn't been a good 18 months for this 14 car, and it's easy to forget who's behind the wheel. They have struggled on pit road, but if they can clean up what they've had on pit road, and that's a little on the driver, a little on the pit crew, a little on the crew chief, everybody has a little hand in that blame. But if they can clean that up, this is a guy you might want to watch on Saturday night. If anybody can make it exciting, surely Smoke can.
And if they could find a way to win this race Saturday night, watch out.
Oh my
because
goodness.
Tony Stewart, he's a champion driver. Everybody would get focused. I guarantee you the pit crew would get better. Tony would get better on pit road. All those things would get better once they gained that focus. But now that we have something clear and definite that we can go aim for, and that being a championship.
And we have seen Stewart Haas make wholesale changes to their pit crews. If one's not working out well, we'll make a change. So if Tony Stewart could break into that top 16 with a win, you might see some changes there on pit road. Brad Keselowski.
You come back to Richmond, Stewart Haas are going to have all 4 cars in the top 14, which is great for the organization. But now it's time to decide who's going to be on the pole. 3.5 minutes, 3 and 4s in full shade. Everybody has at least a couple laps on their tires.
Keep running.
He says keep running. 21:41 is not happy enough for Paul Wolfe. He wants to see more speed out of the 2 car than that.
I was really interested to watch his car run. We saw how out of shape he got on the second round that last time. He still advanced, even though he got that far out of shape. So I was really curious to see what kind of lap he could lay down right here.
Does he improve on his second lap? He does. 21.369. There you go.
Keep running.
Paul's like, just keep going.
Maybe he'll keep getting faster.
Matt Kenseth has led both rounds, so I think right now we're going to find out what kind of speed you need to run.
You know, strategy-wise, and I know it's probably not the play that you'd like to do, but if Brad Keselowski stays out on the racetrack, that makes it more difficult for other cars to come out and get a clean track.
Hey, I like the way you're thinking.
We got him converted. He went from TV guy to racer. He's learned any way to not just improve your time, but hurt the others as Matt Kenseth goes to P2. Now, I want to see if this 20 has more speed in it, because the 20, much like Carl Edwards, who we see here on the screen, both have only ran one lap in each session. So they have a little life left in their tires. As you see Kenseth into the green in the middle of 3 and 4.
Edwards, third quickest, 21.474. The 3 that have gone up track. Kenseth to the top of the charts, 21.368.
You got to ask yourself at this point, is that some tire life? Is there something he feels there? Now, Carl Edwards is quit. He's coming in with 1:55 left. He definitely has some life left in his tires. Maybe he thinks he could try to go out and cool his car down and get one more run.
Kevin Harvick moved up into 4th on his first lap.
Top 2 separated by 1/1000th of a second. Kenseth to Keselowski.
And with only 1:30 left, only 6 guys have taken time. This 5 minutes goes quick.
Kevin Harvick, 4th quickest. That was the second lap. Slowed down just a bit on that second lap. Kurt Busch, his 3rd lap, 21.68. His best lap was his first at 21.51.
Here we go, guys. This is the other car that has only 2 laps on his tires. Joey Logano, the 22, been consistently fast.
Can he do it? Logano goes to the top of the chart, 21.349.
He's not done yet. Still has another lap.
Larson on track. Everyone with a green chip by their name on track.
How about David Reagan up to P5? What a great run for this young man. Future uncertain where he's going to drive next year. Team shutting down. This team has really risen to the occasion in the last few weeks to put their best foot forward, even in rough circumstances.
From the time he got in this car, he's qualified well. Every single week we see that 55 car qualifying well with David Reagan driving it.
All 12 now have taken time. Now they're trying to improve. Kyle Larson improves. Joey Logano. He goes another lap, but it's not any quicker. Jimmy Johnson. His second lap, not as fast as his first.
And Carl Edwards hurried to pit road, made some adjustment with only 3 seconds left. He's taken the green. This lap will count for the 19 car as Larson finishes his lap.
Larson finishes up his 4th lap, 21.645. Logano also doesn't improve on his 4th lap. The only one that counts right now is the 19.
And he's quit.
He decided to shut it down.
He went down on turn 1. These race car drivers know that it didn't have the grip or the feel he needed in turn 1. Joey Logano's on pole sitter.
Joey Logano wins the pole. Matt Kenseth will start on row 1 with him.
And of all the guys we talk about all week long to getting a win and moving into the playoffs, this highest qualifying one right now is David Reagan in 5th.
David Reagan, a driver that needs to win. He makes it into the chase. Tony Stewart, Kyle Larson, Austin Dillon, 10th, 11th, and 12th in this qualifying session. Joey Logano and Matt Kenseth. That's the front row. 13th pole for Joey Logano. His last pole was Kansas back in May. 5th pole already of 2015. Last time we were on a short track, Bristol. Joey Logano able to hold off Kevin Harvick. Logano to victory lane. Last time we were at Richmond, Joey Logano won the pole. So he has swept both Richmond poles in 2015. that team has figured out how to go fast here at Richmond. Mike?
And certainly short tracks have become one of Joey Logano's strengths. We just showed your victory in Bristol, and now you've swept the polls here at Richmond. How much confidence does this give you going into Saturday night?
It helps a lot. You know, we worked hard on a shell Penzo for today in practice, making sure we get what we need for the race. And we didn't get to spend a whole bunch of time in qualifying trim, but you guys made some good adjustments throughout qualifying. Qualifying here is so interesting because the tires wear out so much each run. So kind of interesting to see how, if you're fast one run, the adjustments you got to make to be there at the end of this thing. So it's a lot of fun qualifying here, and it's funny because my guys were giving me a hard time because we just qualified second in the Xfinity race coming up, and I missed it by 100th of a second, which is the same thing we did in the spring, but we got the pole here in the spring as well on the Cup side, so we just basically replicated that weekend so far. So hopefully we can just do a little better in the race, and it'll be a good day.
It seems they did a nice job pushing your buttons, motivating you here in qualifying. Let's talk about the race for a minute here. It's the last race of the regular season before things really get serious for you in the chase. How important is it to come away with a very strong finish on Saturday night?
It's important. It's all about momentum, and momentum is just confidence. And this Shell Pennzoil team's got a lot of confidence here the last few weeks. Look at the last few races we've been racing for wins. Darlington was a really good race for us as well. Even though we finished fourth, we were racing for the win, and we had a very fast car. And obviously coming here, having a good start for this weekend, we just got to carry this momentum through the next 10 weeks after this into Homestead and make sure we have something to race for the championship. Because right now we're showing that we're a great team and a team that can race for the championship. We just got to keep executing through the next 11 weeks here.
Well, they definitely executed here this afternoon. Joey Logano on the pole for Saturday night. Marty?
Mike, starting right beside him on the front row will be Matt Kenseth, who will start second. And when qualifying is that close, Matt, do you replay the lap in your head and say, man, I could have gotten a little bit here, a little bit there?
Yeah, I knew it right when the first lap was over, so right when I got through 1 and 2. But it's hard to be disappointed with second, but I'm really disappointed with second. So they gave me awesome Dollar General Camry, especially on stickers. The second round, we had a little bit to work on. In the third round, we had a little work on, obviously, too. But I didn't get 1 and 2 right. I got a little too aggressive getting back to the gas, and that messed up my center and my exit. And I knew I left all the time there, and we weren't really set up to run a fast second lap. So, that was kind of it. So I feel bad I kind of messed that up, but hopefully we'll have a fast car tomorrow night and we can keep it up front.
Let's talk about tomorrow night. We know it's fast in qualifying trim. How was the car today in race trim for you, and what do you think you'll have tomorrow night?
Track was strange today. We didn't really work on qualifying very much, and we were off on speed, but our balance felt okay. So, I felt like we've had pretty decent speed most of the day in race trim. We certainly are trying to work on the drivability and to make sure it's doing the things that we know it needs to do all night to be competitive on hopefully short runs and long runs. So, I felt like we're okay today, but you don't really practice the race conditions here, and you're never really sure until you get out there with everybody and get in a race.
A strong day for Matt Kenseth and the 20 team today. Mike?
Another guy with a strong performance here in qualifying is David Reagan, 5th on the board. That's got to feel pretty good.
Feels good. It'll feel a lot better if we're in that top 4 or 5 tomorrow night and racing for a chance to win in our Aaron's Dream Machine Toyota. We've had a really good run the last 4 or 5 weeks, but we just haven't been able to finish these races off strong. And our guys have been working really hard trying to build the best cars they can. Obviously, Clint is in a good position to make the chase, but we want to lead some laps. We want to contend for that win, and it all started today. We needed to qualify strong, and I was a little unsure in practice today. We were pretty good on lap 15, lap 20 of a run, but we weren't that great on sticker tires, so that was encouraging to have some speed in qualifying, and man, it's going to be a fun race tomorrow night.
It seems like over the last few weeks, the performance of you and this team had definitely stepped up. Has something changed?
I think we're just working well together. Everybody at MWR has got their heads down, and they're working hard in the chassis shop. TRD's doing a nice job with our engine program, and we're just focused on the goal at task, and that's to try to win some races and, set fast time and top 5s and top 10s. And like I said, we've come up short a few races. We've run well, but we just haven't got that good finish. So everyone has been doing a nice job on our pit crew during the races. We've just got to, be a closer tomorrow night. We've got to close the final 20%, and we can do that. We've got a team that can do it. This is one of my favorite racetracks, and I look forward to tomorrow night. It's going to be fun, so tune in.
I think a lot of people will be tuned in. I hope so, Rick, as David Reagan attempts to be a closer and showcase his talents.
Absolutely. A driver that would like to win final race of the regular season. Look at our starting grid. Joey Logano, Matt Kenseth making up row 1.
David Reagan's done it. He's the only one in that whole screen right there that's not in the chase. He's got the best chance of winning himself in. When it comes at least to qualifying, we'll see if he can do it tomorrow night.
And I like when we're going to change his sheet. And look, we got Tony Stewart, Kyle Larson, Austin Dillon all made the top 12. Every one of those guys also needs to win this race tomorrow night to have a chance to be in the championship hunt.
Ryan Newman's in the top 16 in points, but does not have a win yet this season. Brian Scott, another one of those wild cards that could grab his first ever win. He's shown speed.
Clint Boyer there in row 13 along with Denny Hamlin. That's not what the qualifying effort either one of those is looking for obvious reasons. Clint Boyer cannot afford to be in a wreck early in this race. It could hurt his chances.
Jamie McMurray, when he takes the green flag, he will be locked into the chase based upon points. All the way back through row 19, Greg Biffle still searching. As we mentioned, Roush Fenway Racing has never not had a car in the chase format since NASCAR started that way of determining its champion. And the Xfinity cars are rolling out onto pit road as they will get ready for their race here. This evening we'll have more from Richmond. After the break, qualifying set. Logano fastest.